Good morning, St. Lucia. For those of you who are here at home on shores and those in the diaspora, thank you so much for tuning in to us, and to the wider world as well. Thank you so much for joining the National Television Network. I am Lucia Joseph alongside Homer DeMark, and we're here for the start to another week of information and hopefully some entertainment along the way as we go through the week. But we want to thank you so much for joining us. Today we're taking a bit of a different path and having very serious information. It's going to be very poignant, it's going to be helpful, thought-provoking, and we do hope that at the end of the program, as I always say here, that we will feel some personal responsibility to take some action, play our part in the wider picture of life. And so let me just say quickly, morning to Homer.
Good to you, Lisa. Good morning to you as well, viewers. Those of you watching on channel 122, our Facebook and YouTube pages, are always platforms that you can join us on. It is Monday, 27th of September, 2021, and we do hope that you are coming out of a very good weekend, one that you stayed safe but enjoyed nonetheless, Lisa. So we are bringing close to the month of September. I know that a number of things were commemorated throughout the month, and today's program speaks to one of the very serious issues that was commemorated throughout September.
And we had on September 10th each year, it's observed as World Suicide Prevention Day, and this year the theme was creating hope through action, creating hope through action. And as I said earlier, by the end of the program, you too will be spurred in to help out in preventing suicide in St. Lucia. In studio with us, he's no stranger to St. Lucians and even the diaspora. I'm talking about George Senquar, and he is here with us on this Monday morning to share a powerful story with us. We also have with us the family life educator in the Bureau of Health Education, Miss Naomi Grandison is here. She will be shedding some light for us. So let's start with Naomi. And good morning, you're no stranger here. Thank you so much for, as always, for coming through and giving us valuable information. Now, as we said, September celebrated as, or rather observed, not celebrated, observed as World Suicide Prevention Day. It is a theme that is powerful. It really speaks and calls on everyone to play their part. Talk to us about how the Bureau of Health Education has been able to put out the message, even as we are battling COVID-19.
Thank you very much for having me, Lisa. Platinum George. It's really good to be here this morning. I'm happy to be back at NTN.
Yes, we're happy to have you.
Yes. And of course, this is all part of what we are doing. The Bureau of Health Education, our department, is about promotion for overall health and well-being, prevention, also family life matters, research, etc., as it relates to even community assessments and so on, understanding what the gaps are. We recognize that the COVID-19 pandemic has really taken a toll on our emotional health. And you could only imagine that persons who already suffer with mental or emotional health issues would have really had a rough time through this pandemic. What we have done, we did have a bit of a training and presentation. Zoom is a place to be nowadays. You could reach a lot more persons. So there were some healthcare providers who were given an update on suicide signs, suicide warning signs, and what are some of the things that general health practitioners on the community level can do to mitigate a suicide. We also did do some educational material, media cards to put on the different platforms, and we also shared news items. And actually last year I did a bit of a poem PSA on suicide and suicide prevention. and health focus also. So there have been a number of things, and also just working with other stakeholders and encouraging them to do their part. And I know a number of them had their various activities, though there were constraints because of COVID-19. Really, the main message was to be aware of the signs and to really not judge somebody, judging the person, not looking at the individual like, you're way off base here. And encouraging persons to honor persons who have either survived a suicide or have attempted suicide or are going through struggles that kind of bring them to that edge. We did encourage persons to do that as well.
And certainly when people speak about suicide, they immediately believe that that individual was weak, especially, amongst male, because we tend to believe, well, that's a weak fellow. Man, I'll never do that, never do something like that. But certainly it is something far beyond an individual choosing to end his or her life. It is perhaps even a life suffering that the individual has been going through, because it would be safe to say that suicide and mental health are very interconnected.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, and I just want to bring about a bit of statistics now, so we can get some perspective in a sense. Right here, if we look at, let's say, Barbados, per 100,000, which would be like the rate. We have, according to my research here, 0.6 per 100,000, St. Vincent 0.7 per 100,000. So what that means is less than one person per 100 would die from suicide per year. And we have Jamaica 2.4 per 100,000. And let's look at Ghana, since we were connected to the African continent. We have 0.6 per 100,000. And would you imagine that a small island of St. Lucia, and this is based on 2019 statistics, that we are at 7.9 per 100,000. And it really hurts my heart, and it goes to show that we need to do more. It goes to show that, for me, this is my personal opinion, that there is something wrong. There is something that we need to shift. There is something that needs to change, because the overall statistic worldwide is 1 out of 100, and that would be about 703,000 deaths by suicide. So it shows that, one, persons are suffering with mental health challenges, with coping skills, with hopelessness, with services, inadequate services to deal with those things, with the heaviness of the impact of stigma, which is I don't want to deal with you, cast you on aside, for want of a better word, or feeling that you would be judged or not given certain privileges, even work and otherwise, because you declare that you have some sort of mental health problem. Even it doesn't mean that you've lost touch with reality, or even if it doesn't mean that you're psychotic. So herein lies the problem. It doesn't always have to be somebody who is severely depressed to commit suicide. It could have been a spur of a moment thing. But for the most part, there are signs and persons are suffering long term. I'm sure in this room here, one of us has suffered with a mental disorder, and perhaps have even contemplated suicide.
And I think too, just to say that certainly life's issues can have an impact as well. Mm-hmm. Certainly, just having to go through a certain trauma, and your life completely changes. You were well, and suddenly you became ill and critically ill, because I can say that based on my own experience, I was completely fine, and just one day very, very critically ill.
Wow.
And the space that I found myself mentally, I can fully now I can empathize, I can recognize the importance of talking to people, the importance of connecting as well. Because if you do not deal with your trauma, you certainly can find yourself in a pit of helplessness, hopelessness, just not being able to recognize your own self and feeling as if everything has ended. So it is quite possible, it's very, very easy for anyone to slip into that sort of mental space.
Lisa, I just want to say thank you for sharing that, because this is where we need to get to. This is the compassion that we need to extend to a human being. There is no person who is, I would say anybody can be at risk of committing suicide. It doesn't mean, even a person who has been well for all their life, anybody, child, financial situation, working, not working, COVID-19, not COVID-19, anybody's at risk. Some of the signs to look for: empty, difficulty finding a reason to live or to be alive, feeling like a burden to others, which is one of the key ones, worrying a lot, feeling trapped, anger and rage, especially for men, extreme sadness, intense emotional, physical pain, because the brain can, emotional strain can affect your pain receptors actually. Giving away important items, saying goodbye, making a will and putting things in place, avoiding friends or social activities, and researching ways to die. Some people may engage in restless and risky behaviors because they're like, whatever, and eating or sleeping much more than they used to, or using drugs and alcohol. And some of these things are almost in line with chronic severe depression and other mental health issues. So we just want persons to recognize the signs, and I just want to reiterate that if somebody has said anything like, the life doesn't make sense anymore, I don't even know if I want to be here, this could be a clear sign, stay with the person, do not leave the person. You can contact any wellness center. There is what we call a wellness nurse, which is a psychiatric nurse that can attend to the person, or they can make an appointment for the person. If the person has a plan, they know when they're going to do it and how they're going to do it, and it's soon, you will have to bring the person into a care practitioner. Or you can call toll-free to guidance and immediate assistance. Some people may feel, because of the stigma, they do not want to go to the mental wellness hospital. You can get an evaluation, you can bring them to the emergency room, and of course they may refer them. Or you can bring them to see the nurse at the wellness center, or get a counselor or personal doctor to assess them and tell them to wait. Don't promise a contract with you that they won't do it until they meet up with so-and-so, and don't leave them alone. Take away everything you think possible that they can harm themselves, sleep next to them, and so on. Or if it is something where they've already attempted or they're about to attempt, then you would have to call the authorities to get them in as soon as possible. Okay.
As a friend or a family member who have possibly identified some of those signs, bringing the conversation, bringing up the subject to the person, to your loved one, may be very tricky. Yes. Is there any advice that you could give as to the approach, or the best way to approach it? Because some people may have no idea how to even begin to approach that.
Right. Recently in the Zoom session that we had, the psychiatric nurse said sometimes you just have to get straight to the point.
Okay.
If you've heard the statements about wanting to end their life, or you've noticed the searching about death and all these other things, you simply ask them, are they considering ending their life? Are you considering committing suicide? You could get straight to the point. And you don't give that whole what's wrong with you, but you're supposed to be happy, but you're making money, and you listen and you said, well, I'm here to assist you and support you in any way that I can. But if you're going to hurt yourself, I have to get help for you. I am obligated to get help for you. I really want to see how I can help you. I'm going to spend some time with you. This situation must be a very difficult one for you. If you've gone through the same thing, you can express your own experience with them. and that there is a way out of this. There is a way out of this. It may seem like it's the end of the world, but there is a way out of this, you know.
And we do have a powerful story, and Platinum George is with us. What we'll do is take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll be hearing from him.
What's in the food you're eating? Do you really even know? All the chemicals and hormones used to accelerate their growth. All the artificial flavoring, sweeteners and colors too. We consume and we don't spare a thought for the damage that they'll do. No, think about the children. Think about the children. How will we save them? Chemicals and GMOs are not the solution. Use organic and join revolution.
Excessive agrochemical use, additives, and genetically modified foods are harmful to health and the environment. Join the good food revolution. Grow, buy, and consume organic. A message from Rise St. Lucia and the Ministry of Sustainable Development with funding from the GEF Small Grants Program UNDP.
The good food revolution.
And thank you so much for staying with us on this important discussion that we're having on this Monday morning. And before we went to break, Kate said that Platinum George is with us, and he's going to share with us his story, his struggles, and his ultimate triumph, I would think. Although it's always a continuous process, but certainly just him being here means that he has won in some form. So, Platinum, you will share with us your experience. And before we came on air, you were saying what? It's not a one-time, it has been for you a lifetime journey. And I think you would mean dealing with or coping with your emotions, mental health issues. And so talk to us about what experience is for you.
All right, good morning to everyone who's locked in. Good morning, ladies. As you know, my name is Platinum George. A lot of people remember me by my songs, May I and Carnival, and you know, this jump up, this energetic man on stage, you know, entertain everyone, yeah. Through all of these years of making people happy, because I had my own personal struggles in terms of personal issues that I was going through. You see, sometimes you see somebody on stage. It's like an act. It's like, you know, go to Holly, you know, you on stage, you're pretending to have that hype, and you know, and here you are. It's all an act for me. It was all a show. You know, my life started off with, from youth. It has been very hard for me growing up in my home. It was a life of poverty, a life of misery. I started working from the age of 15. Like, you know, I just wanted to do some more, you know, from the ways with seeing my mother struggling. You know, for me at that point in time, I had to do something. You know, watching television, and you're seeing all this these dishes on TV, pizza for $1.99 and all them kind of things, and you're seeing mac and cheese. You know, you had that experience for me. I was not the kind of person who, you know, every Sunday would get mac and cheese and a baked chicken, you know, on my plate. You know, for me, it was just the same thing every day. You know, at the time, you know, you go to get the box was for nothing. So growing up made me realize that I needed to do more to assist my mother. So at that point in time, I did not have a childhood, because for me, at the age of 15, going to work, you know, I have no time to be a youth. You know, I had to grow up very quickly. You know, I had to learn responsibility at the age of 15, taking care of my mother and my brothers. I had 2 brothers, 2 sisters. So basically, from getting paid, I was basically the man of the house. You know, through growing up, doing music, you know, from all this experience built up in anger in me. You know, throughout the years, I had that temper that people could not approach me. You know, before you would probably come up to me and I see you coming, I would already be on guard, you know, to watch the way that you speak. And all the years, it has made it worse. Entering through relationships made that experience of childhood made it even worse in terms of, you know, always wanting right. You know, going through the music industry made it worse again in terms of now I'm investing in music, but yet still I'm not getting any returns. You know, then you would see that I have a family to maintain, I have bills to pay, then spending a whole bunch of money and you're not even making half of this. It basically had me on a cloud of darkness, you know, not knowing where to go, not knowing what to do. I reached the point of watching myself, you know, and I was always unhappy if who I saw in the mirror, you know, and here I am, you know, out there in the presence of everyone who envied my lifestyle, you know, young men who want to be like me. Because I lived the life. I had friends that with. I reached the point where I didn't have to spend money. I travel every year to Dominica Creole Fest. Everywhere you see me having a good time, drinking, laughing. But all this was just a show. All this was just an act. When I basically got home from all of this, it was me by myself. And this is where the trauma and the pain that comes in when you see somebody is on that verge of committing suicide. When you are by yourself, and then your life reflects of your accomplishments.
So even when you were at your very, very high on stage, you have all of those hits, people wanting to be like you, did you not feel that you were worthy? Were you still feeling that for somehow you were inadequate?
Yes, because you see what happened to me, with all of this, it was not something that made me happy. You know, so I see performers, I see artists who make this fame and believe they are more important than people. You know, they use that, you know, to believe they're always walking on cloud 9. And with me, I never embraced the fame. I never liked it. I never liked the fact of, you know, every time I pass in somewhere, someone's going to ask me for an autograph. And, you know, it was just not me because I was not happy with myself. You know, despite of all this, it did not bring joy to me. Because what I wanted a peace of mind. I wanted to live a life where I was completely happy, not happy. People believing that I'm happy, but the happiness from within. You know, even if that, you know, I dressed, I could have gotten what I wanted, but that's not basically what I really wanted. You know, it was like I would see people, and I say people, the perfect example is you see millionaires, you see people who have every single thing that you would dream of, but eventually you would hear that they commit suicide because of personal problems. It could be a relationship problem, it could be a financial problem, but you see, the thing with people like myself, we do not speak to people. We always believe that we can do it by ourselves. You know, that then the pride comes in. That if I tell people it's my problem or my situation, it will be mocked. You know, it will be I am weak. You know, so I basically looked for all sorts of ways of committing suicide, and nobody actually knew. You know, I would walk around, you know, from when I used to walk in the waterfront, water bills, and picture, okay, if I go there and I fall, when I hit the floor, will I feel it? Okay, then I'll watch about a vehicle. If I run in front of that vehicle and that vehicle hit me, will I die one time? You know, I will watch about the ocean, drop my ocean and probably try to drown. Then the fall comes down, probably somebody will have time to save me. And then when I put all this together, the biggest thing about suicide is if you try it and you fail, then you have to deal with a whole bunch of people now approaching you and causing a bigger sin, asking you why did you do it and why, what, you know, and I did not want that, you know, because right now it will make you want to commit suicide even more. So I tell people at the end of the day, it does not matter.
Because then people would have known your secret.
Right, so that secret that you have been trying to keep for so long, eventually it will come out. You're still alive, so it makes it worse. because basically you want to commit suicide and die one time. You know, you don't want to deal with the issues. After you already want to get out of the problems that you have, and then you still have the problems, then you have bigger problems. Now you have everybody now knowing your business. You know, what made it worse, I even speak to your family.
But when you have those thoughts of the suicide, yes, you can't speak. They too are a bit scared. They get into that whole thing about why they want to do it. But what about considering how you dying would impact them? Did you ever think about how your children might feel, how your wife, partner would feel?
Well, the only thought that kept me going was my son, my kids. Because sometimes I would think about the partner, but sometimes the relationship was causing the thoughts of getting out of it, of giving, you know, through even family. And I remember asking, like, you know, sometimes your family is some of the people who contribute into you wanting to commit suicide. Then I reached the point where I looked and say, what will my son think about his father? And throughout this time, I didn't realize how close my son was to me. My son used to watch every single thing that he did, and I did not even notice. And eventually, imagine my son ended up wanting to commit suicide himself, that I did not even know about, because I was so focused on, you know, try best to be a good father, trying to be a good partner, but I had that mask on. I want everybody to be happy. For me, when you are happy, I am happy. But that's what I was making people believe. But inside, I was not happy. And then it's my mom who told me how my son watched everything that I did, every move I make, the way I dress, the way I go out. And at that point in time, I was not spending time with him. You know, I was so focused on, you know, the good life, you know, always out there drinking, partying, fetting, that what was really important to me at the end of the day, that I thought that I was protecting, is what was being taken away from me. I would say by thinking selfish. I was thinking selfish at that point in time. Imagine I am there. I would go on my knees and I would pray. You know, and I always ask God, Father, what is my purpose? What do you have in store for me? Because I do not know what to do. You know, imagine being around people that I can't speak to, you know, but at the end of the day, what will these people tell me that I have not already heard? You know, basically whatever you tell me, I have already heard it. And even if you tell it to me again on a personal level, really, it still will not mine. Because, you know, the pain that I am going through, what I am holding inside, I really cannot explain it. You know, and you would just react in an emotional way, where I would always be angry. And this is what, and it is so funny that, you know, you would come up to me with good intentions, but just because of that bitterness inside me, I would watch it as a negative. Even if you come to me positive, since I already have that negativity and that anger inside of me, that everything is me, I will not come in to try to help me.
Sort of a paranoia begins to set in.
And here I am, okay? And I see that people will come to me. I see people come to me with their own problems. People come and advise about what they're going through. And I'm saying, my God, imagine that person don't even know what I'm going through, and I have to sit. And here I'm giving people advice about how to go on living their life, the right decisions to make, and I myself not even taking my own advice.
Because you want to make people happy,
yeah.
So you're always there.
Always there to listen. And you know, my transformation came through, I got invited to church. You know, imagine I'm the kind of person that I always go to church, no matter what denomination. You invite me, I would go. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not that kind of person who's speaking. I am trying to get that emptiness filled, you know. And here I am, I got invited to church where I understand what the Bible was, the words of God. And I tell people sometimes we all have our different ways of carrying ourselves. You know, a lot of people might just one thing behind, take a trip and start all over. You know, a lot of people will probably be in a relationship, get out of that relationship and say, oh, this is the cause. But sometimes what happens now, eventually you still fall back into that same state. So
because you have not really dealt with the problem, the cause, the root cause.
Yeah, because with me, I did not know how to love me. That was my problem. Despite the fact that everybody was around me, despite the fact that I was with everybody, but I did not know how to love me. I did not love myself, you know. And when I started, you know, and I started understanding what self-love is by reading the words of God, it transformed me, you know. Then I started seeing other people, that same situation, going through that same problem that I went through. Then I found myself in the position where now I can help and assist someone because I have understood what it means to love myself, you know. And I let go of everything. I let go of the music, you know. I let go of even the friends that I used to lime with.
Why was it important?
Because you see, it basically contributed into that loneliness. Because sometimes when I explain to my friends, because you know, sometimes when you make a decision, the moment that you're drinking, you're lying, you're stealing, nobody tells that it is wrong. The moment that they make the decision to become a Christian or to serve God, everybody have all sorts of things to tell you about. That church is not good, and this is not good, and you know, they have heard that before. Then I said to myself, if I want to grow and be able to assist other people, there are things I have to let go of. You know, and then when I explained that to my friend, he told me, but you don't have to stop liming. Then I said to him, if I'm an alcoholic, would I still lime? And I want to get free from that drinking. Why would I still lime in a bar? You understand? Because if I want to stop drinking and I'm seated in a bar, even though I stop drinking for 3 days, eventually if I continue going in that bar, I will start taking a drink again. And then I would go back into that same life. So then for me to get a total transformation in my life, I have to let go of what kept me into that world that I wanted to get out of. Get out of the liming with the friends, get out of the atmosphere of the music that I was releasing, change every single thing about me. Okay, so you will see the transformation in my life. Right now, my music that I do is gospel music. I have transformed my music into reggae gospel, soca gospel, where I am working with Emron Henry right now, where we are just hitting the market in terms of gospel
Fantastic
entertainment.
artists.
You know, I have put myself into youth programs, working with the YPG, you know, speaking to this youth about life changes, because they themselves go through these situations. You know, the depression. And sometimes when we explain to them, basically I went through depression, I did not even know it was depression. I thought it was just a normal day, like, you know, today I'm in my mood, tomorrow I'm not in my mood. That's how a lot of people believe that what it is. Today I'm happy, but I'm just not in my mood today. And that is why I tell people, especially the parents, when you see your child always on a phone, that child always lock themselves in a room. That child does not want to interact with you, or if their own brothers and sisters, there is a problem.
There is a problem.
Okay, something is wrong. And especially now with this COVID time where everybody now is in one house. That makes it even worse, because people are not accustomed as one family spending so much time together. So now the lockdown has made it even worse in terms of, because you want your space. Okay, sometimes you want to watch something on the television, but your mother want to watch it, or your brother want to watch something else. So now, with all what you are hiding inside of you, you just burst out. Then that parent will try to figure out, but what is wrong if I just said something simple, okay? And then it goes back into pressure. Then you start pressuring that youth is going through so much things that they cannot even, that is what is so hard sometimes for people who go through that suicidal state. You want to tell somebody, but you cannot tell anyone. You want to open up, but who do you open up to? Sometimes you tell people your problem, they believe that you're going off, or that it's just nothing.
Or you're making too much out of it.
Yeah,
You're making too much out of it.
And I want to add to that, what I'm really getting from that is a number of skills. What is our skill set as a people? And some people, like in the case of Platinum George, he was able to learn that skill, that self-love skill, that skill of looking at your environment and what are your triggers to that and letting go of it. So I think us, because everybody has their own method, I think even with what he's doing in empathizing and connecting and recognizing what's going on with the youth is another skill, because that's a form of charity, that's a form of giving back, and it's healing. That's why there are a number of self-help ways that, you know, if you hear somebody else's story, suddenly it reduces your pain, right, because this person is like you and this person gets you. And so the skill of connecting, I think, is a key trigger to somebody maybe feeling their depression, which is, and I want persons to understand, a biochemical condition for a lot of persons. It may be situational with some people, where something happened and it contributes, and it may be very long-lasting, chronic with some other persons. It's a biochemical condition that I would like persons to respect, similarly to high blood pressure, to diabetes, and to make them understand that there are instances where they may need treatment. You understand what I'm saying? And the treatment usually includes counseling, which I'm sure Senkwa was able to get some sort of that support in the church, a couple with vitamins, diet, and in some cases medication. And the whole idea of being weak and not loving God because you want to get out of this life is that judgmental pattern we are trying to get people out of, so that they can feel more comfortable to offload and then start to do things that make life more fulfilling. You understand? Because if they cannot see life as fulfilling, then life is like a heavy weight and burden. Life is not life. So I want to say that again, the skills building, the love for each other, the learning how to communicate, the learning how to get help, knowing where to go to get help. You understand, knowing how to love yourself is all part of what can help to mitigate the actual completing of suicide. Even if some people may be a passing thought, other people are haunted with it for a very long time. So I just want to add to that, if we can skill build and encourage our children to build certain skills and let them know the importance of communicating, expressing your emotions, similarly to brushing your teeth in the morning, clothing yourself, bathing. You need to be able to communicate and talk and offload. It is a part of your overall well-being. I think that can help to avert. And I think in our society, I just want to say this, and again, this is my personal opinion. In our society, we're just too judgmental. And being judgmental is extremely toxic. It's like Senkwa was saying, you're an alcoholic and you're drinking more alcohol and you're going to places with more alcohol. Then you have somebody who's sick, maybe depressed, or somebody who's suicidal, and you're feeding them poison. You're feeding them poison with your judgmental attitude that, oh, you do not love God, oh, you're crazy, or whatever. And we think like that because we don't know better in some cases. We think that it's going to help the person to change, but it only serves to bring a person deeper into that pit.
Yes, because there are people who believe that, so family members who would believe that the concept of tough love. So if I love you tough enough, you'll be able to straighten out.
You're trying to help.
Yeah, trying to help, but the approach is important in as much as...
It is very important. It is very important. It's sometimes we are the ones who are making it harder for the person who might have just had a passing thought. Because you know teenagers, you know young people, you react to a lot of things. A girl doesn't respond to you back, or a boy doesn't take you on, and you're like, oh, it's the end of the world. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if you continue to get, oh, you're overreacting, it builds up, and it may turn into a haunting suicidal ideation because nobody validated how you felt. Oh, I understand how you feel. Oh, even if I don't understand, I mean, you're going through it, and I hope you feel better. Maybe you could try this or try that or whatever. If we don't express compassion to each other, we are in for a catastrophe. And I think if you look at the statistics that I put forward, it is clear that our approach to people, to the ones we love, to healing, to getting counseling, to spiritual, getting in spiritual intervention instead of negative spirituality, which is my own made-up word, where you just
what is that?
You know, it's negative. You truly believe that expression of judgment and brimstone is going to help a situation.
Because what I did with my situation with my son, when I got to, I never approached him on that situation. Mm-hmm. Never came up to him, because the way I got the information is not he that told me.
Right.
You know, I got it through my sister, went through his phone, and she saw the message that he sent to a friend. You know, and up to today, like today, I never told him anything about it. I made it aware, I made it comfortable for him. But sometimes, you know, when you see the message as a parent, you will be surprised. Then you would approach the child in a way that, with all that fear that you have, it turns into an anger now, telling, but why you want to do this? And I'm doing all of this for you. And then you make it even worse. So I made it comfortable for him, where he actually went to pastors and spoke to the pastor. And the pastor came to me and explained what was going on. You know, and I never went back to him. I just kept that communication with him, because he felt more comfortable saying to the pastor, and the information was coming back to me. So when I got the information, I just continue giving him that little space for him to open up, to find himself as well. And today my son is a man of God like me. My son is in church as myself. My son right now is on the way of being a young student pastor. And imagine, just by, as I said, the decision that I made to remove myself from the life I was living, put myself more in the things of God. Right now, son now is following the same steps. You know, that's why I tell parents, you have to be, as you said about tough love. Tough love, sometimes, I believe in the past of our great-grandparents, there was this love where they had to. But right now, in this time, you cannot give children tough love. You have to be so careful in the way that you approach children in terms of trying to correct them. Because sometimes you believe you're trying to correct them, and sometimes all you're doing, you're causing more problems. You know, sometimes you're supposed to allow them to feel free to come to you.
Because the parent should be the first stop.
Yeah. Because, you know, if you, that kind of parent, before a child something, you will judge them. They will never come to speak to you about anything. Yourself, that comfort zone where they could approach you, you know, unexpected sometimes. You know, sometimes we're just doing something, or we're cooking together, we go and watch a scene, and then mommy or daddy have something to tell you, and you know, and gradually it builds up into that sum of comfort.
So far I've heard, you know, just by listening to John speak, that, you know, healthy relationships and having support is very important.
Yes.
To kind of transition. One of the things that he mentioned as well was the state of his mental health. And the fact that he did not understand while going through depression that was what it was. I think it's something that in our society, we may not necessarily pay much attention to our mental health. Are there any practices that we could do at home? Just like, you know, we feed ourselves every day and we work out for our physical health. Are there any practices that we could take on at home to ensure that we're taking care of our mind as well?
From a medical perspective, based on the research, they have found that a regular time where you in a quiet space, where you remove yourself from everybody, and you take a few minutes a day where you are silent and you connect with yourself. You can do some deep breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, or it doesn't have to be this exactly, but you hold it and you release long breaths. And that could be one practice. Journaling, especially gratitude journaling. If persons cannot write, they can think through all that's in their life that they're grateful for, and not in the sense where, oh, Gina is suffering from cancer and I don't have cancer. No, not a comparative gratitude. Just gratitude. What you have is another state. Another thing is to see your thoughts as clouds passing through in the sky, rather than holding on to every thought and thinking that you are your thoughts, because you're not your thoughts. You're somebody who's having a thought. And if the thought is a disturbing one, don't allow yourself, for the most part, have the practice of observing the thought as a passing cloud, and knowing that it cannot have as much power or weight unless you grab onto it and then you contemplate more about what the thought is talking about. Just see random thoughts as just passing clouds, because that's just how your mind works. So that is another thing. Another key thing, and I think George would agree with me, is forgiveness. It is extremely toxic to continue to hold a grudge against somebody. You have to get to a space where you can wish somebody well, even if you cannot wish them $1 million, but then you can wish them some more love in their life. You have to be able to get to the point. You don't have to rush it, you know. Sometimes it takes a while. For me, sometimes with some people it has taken a while, because it's there and I don't want to lie to myself and say, okay, I really have forgiven this person. But forgiveness is a key thing for our overall mental health. And there are so many other things, but another thing I would like to mention is sleep. You need to sleep. You need to sleep for 7 to 10 hours, especially at night, so your brain can get a break and rejuvenate. And if you are having difficulty sleeping for a week, go to a doctor or whoever, herbalist or whoever pastor or whoever counselor, to figure out a solution. If you're not sleeping, take something for it, people. Sleep, because that can contribute to a deterioration in your mental health, a significant deterioration in your mental health. And furthermore, learning that you do not control people. This is a person's choice. This is their opinion of you, and create some space. It's not easy, but create some space between what people choose to do and what control you can have over another human being. You can encourage, you can support, but you cannot control people. If like somebody wants to continue eating KFC every day, that's my opinion, because you know I'm into healthy eating. Or the person, when I say KFC, I'm talking about they have healthy options too. I should be advertising for them, but sorry about that.
But we understand what you mean. Yes.
And you encourage and you mention, you know, I think you should really watch that. It's very unhealthy, and you continue to do it. Then please be still. The person may at a drop decide to eat even more healthier than you one day. So just let it be. And so these are some of the things that I would mention.
I've always said that you could simply focus on the things that you can control.
Right.
And
serenity.
Yes,
Correct.
yes, and that's very, very important. When she mentioned forgiveness, I say she preempted me, because I listened to you very, very, and I want to ask you two things. Have you forgiven yourself?
Oh, yes, I have. I have forgiven myself so much that I even love myself even more. You know, I forgive myself for all what that I have done to even people. Sometimes, you know, I probably said things to people that probably I don't even realize, or I have hurt people in the past, you know, that probably that I have been keeping all of this in my head, in my heart. I have called everyone, even my past relationships, my ex, I asked them for forgiveness for all what I have done to them, probably even things I did not realize.
Did you ask your mom?
Yes.
Or have you forgiven your mom?
I've forgiven my mom. Sometimes, you know, I don't even want to bring up the topic, because sometimes, you know, I know in that situation it was not her fault, you know, because she was going through a hard time, you know. So I have forgiven them in the fact that I am always there to assist them in any way that they want. You know, I have to be much bigger than who I was now, because people thought I was happy. Now, you know, before you put on weight, people say, oh, things nice. You know, but because of my stress and depression, I end up eating a lot.
Medical condition can also keep you big. So,
Exactly.
just,
Yeah, I used to wake up like 2 in the morning because I could not sleep. just eating 3 in the morning, just eating, thinking, crying. And and now I have found that peace. I have now understood what it to love myself. And basically, if I do not know how to love me, there's no way that I will know how to love you. So the love unto you is a love that I have within.
And so you've been doing a lot of work on in the ground and stuff, and you have a project that you will be launching or that you're working on. Tell us more about that in our remaining moments.
Okay, I have this project where I'm doing this gospel line station to reach out to the youth. Gospel radio station as well, radio studio to bring out gospel music in this country. I have heard we speak a lot about religion, a lot about the power of God. Before we have a home, everybody knows how to seek the presence of God. But after all that is gone, we just go back to our own life. So I am coming up with this project to bring out all religion, all Christians. Doesn't matter your congregation, we all serve one God. And I believe that if we continue to unite in that one faith, there's a lot that we can do to help people. You understand? There's a lot that we could do to help the youth, also our family members. Because what I realized, me being a Christian, the hardest thing to do when you become a Christian is to convince your family members. It's so easy to convince a total stranger how to change their life around, but your family who will see the transformation in your life, see the example. Also, we work with the YPG. We have that every Sunday. We have a feeding program with the YPG where we do meals for over 150 youth around the island, from Grosy Lake, Soufrière, Vieux-Fort, every Sunday. Now, since of the lockdown, we start doing it on a Saturday where we can't even feed them now, but we do a live show through Zoom, where we talk about healthy eating, we talk about family, we talk about depression, we speak about all parts of problems that you are going through. Every Saturday we launch out. So I tell people, listen to the youth people. We really need to work so much more with the youth. And if you notice right now, more of the people who are dying now is youth. A lot of the youth are going away, and I believe that we're supposed to embrace them and not blame them for sometimes our mistakes. We as parents sometimes go through so much hard times growing up that we end up passing that frustration on the youth.
And not even being aware of that. I want to thank you very much, and for Naomi, just remind individuals how they can reach out for help.
There is a toll-free number, 203 24 hours a day, that is providing emotional support. And it is not a suicide hotline as just for suicide. It is for persons who are undergoing, feeling overwhelmed or stressed in any way, and they want to talk to somebody. So you can call, if you know that somebody may be having some sort of a mental challenge, call your nearest wellness center and ask for an appointment with the wellness nurse or the psychiatric nurse. Develop a relationship with your doctor. Get to know about the counseling services available. I know there are counselors at the school levels. I think there is a website, a Caribbean mental health coaching website. You can type that in to Google and see if you can get some online support in terms of coaching for any issues that you have. I think that's the extent of what I'm aware of at the moment. So please reach out for help, 203 or your nearest wellness center, your doctor or counselor. Thanks for listening.
And thank you so much for being with us. That's Naomi Grandison, who is the family educator of the Bureau of Health Education within the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs. Thank you so much, Platinum George St. Croix, whom I believe is a distant relative. We'll discuss that. Thank you so much for being brave and for sharing your story and for the work that you're doing. Thank you so much for that. Horma?
Yes, thank you, of course, listeners, for joining us as we close. give you a quick recap of COVID cases. We know that, you took a different path, so we're just trying to regulate you right now. So COVID cases coming out of the Ministry of Health, that was Sunday. The Ministry of Health recorded 87 new cases from and those were collected on September 24th and 25th. That is a positivity rate of 24.6, and the ministry also recorded one death yesterday, bringing the number of deaths in country to 140, and our COVID-19 related deaths to 44. Confirmation also received the recovery of 72 individuals, which is always good news, and that brings the total number of active cases in country to 2,170. And if you are looking to get vaccinated today, vaccination resumes today at the VG Complex and the Soufrière Hospital from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So we're wishing you a very happy Monday, Lisa and Hilma, right here on the National Television Network in the morning, keeping you updated. We're wishing you the very best and a very productive Monday.